Hello everyone, and welcome to another video, specifically reviewing the Chaquetrix comic chapters. Specifically, we're going through the next set, or the next four chapters at the moment. I'm going to be explaining generally what happens in the chapters, and also at the end of each section, we'll be explaining how I feel about the chapters, what I do and don't like about it, if at all, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Before we actually start, do go to their Patreon and, give them a few bucks. You get to see some stuff extra before, it comes out, and also just support them. They're making like an actual really good comic here, and I like it personally. I think it's a very good comic. Their Patreon will be down in the description, along with their social media as well, if you want to look at their stuff there as well. Without further ado, let's go to reviewing the Chaquetrix comic chapters. Starting off with our first comic today, that being called The Best Vacation. It starts off, of course, just like in the original, it starts off with the robot attacking the campsite. Of course, Wild Girl, or Wild Mud in this AU, can't really fight this robot. It's not really a good matchup, so instead, Ben decides, well, he's gonna use Diamond Head, or Diamond Heart in this AU. I do really like the alternate names, they're really nice. Of course, like, pretty much this entire fight is just more or less Diamond Head or Diamond Heart, that's gonna be hard to get used to, saving other people. Mainly Ben and Gwen, mainly, from like trees and lasers and stuff. But then eventually they get like attacked and blown into a building and eventually figure out that, whoa, hey, they can refract the lasers with their, with their body. So they do exactly that, though the difference in comparison to the original is that the robot gets cut in half, which is very cool to look at. The end of the chapter pretty much just ends with, well, Accelerate coming in with Ben on her back, and apparently they're most likely gonna mess with Cash and JT at the school or whatever. And that pretty much ends this chapter. So, going over this chapter in Radiant, I do like the different names. I don't know if I've said that in the previous chapters, but I'm just gonna notch that down as well as something that I like. Also, something that I do like the differences in the original, even though they're technically telling generally the same story, more or less. They do, actually tell the story a little bit different, but also have stuff referencing the original as well, and I very much like that. And also some added tidbits like, Ben riding, on their backs or certain other things, and showing that Ben can still be targeted, like, in a lot of these as well, so, he needs to kind of get out of the way. That might be something he needs to learn later, pretty obviously. And another thing, I really like the transformation sequences that we see with a lot of the aliens. Diamond Heads is also very good, or Diamond Heart. See, I'm screwing it up already. And this chapter, I think, is really nice. I don't really have much else to say. Cons, it does kind of annoy me that Ben and both Gwen are just kind of always in the way, if I'm gonna be honest. You would think they would try to get out of the way while Diamond Heart does her thing and all that, but they're more or less more in the way than, well, what they were in the original, and I kind of, it bugs me a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, on to the next chapter. Now, at the start of the next chapter, we get a revelation that, well, I mean, the aliens don't have a time limit, or at least based off of what we know so far as of this chapter, is that Ben can just call them out, and they'll be just out for as long as he wants. That's it. Though, granted, I don't think he has figured out, or at least not yet, how to, put them back into the watch, but maybe that comes later. Anyway, if we figure out that the aliens can just stay out as long as they want. And in this chapter, it also transitions to another, I guess, relative of Animo instead of normal Animo. Specifically, it's actually his daughter, as the one dude, in this talks about her father. So this is the daughter of Dr. Animo, continuing his work, essentially. And the rest of the chapter happens as per normal with the normal series other than that. And yeah, she mutates the frog, and yeah. I like the cool character interactions between, Max and Gwen and Ben, and Ben trying to rationalize, or trying to not rationalize, I guess just explain how he thinks the watch works, though I'm pretty sure we all know how it works. I like the introduction of new characters as well, like Animo's daughter, which is cool. It makes things, different and more interesting, but still memorable, and because it's still following the general same plot as the original. So I very much like that. I think it's cool. Though I will most likely give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's perfectly fine as a normal chapter. But let's go on to the next one. The next chapter, we start off with Heat Blast, just like in the original, saving a couple people from a burning building. Though, of course, she doesn't do it with the same finesse that Ben does in the original, and does fall on her face. But yeah, she's trying her best, at least. And she does try to interact with this one kid, but accidentally burns his cards by accident, and well, yeah. But the entire interaction with Heat Blast is pretty much as per normal with Gwen, Ben, and Heat Blast. But then we transition to, of course, the Mart, and Ben, well, he tries to get the Sumo Slammers stuff by bringing out Gray Matter. But of course, Gray Matter is insulted by him trying to use her for, well, just getting a piece of cardboard, essentially. But of course, Animo's daughter actually shows up with said mutant frog from the previous chapter, and yeah. Cool thing though is that something else gets established with the watch, is that when Ben, summons out an alien, there's only a certain amount of time he has to wait to summon out the next one, and because he's already summoned, or just summoned, Gray Matter, he can't summon one of the other ones to, well, fight for him, or fight the frog, or whatever else. So that is a nice handicap. Instead of there being a time limit, Ben can bring out any alien that he wants at any time, but he has to wait between switches, which is cool and interesting. I like that. Well, talking about my likes and dislikes of this chapter, and I think this is also a pretty good chapter, or decent chapter at the least. It does establish some extra, limits on to the Chaquetrix. Instead of it just being, oh, he can bring out any alien one at a time or whatever, is that instead of it just being one at a time and at any time, he actually has a time limit between switches, which is a nice, added thing, as I said before. And also, I didn't say this in the previous chapter thing, but having it be a little bit different, instead of it being just normal Animo, having it be his daughter is cool, and it's showing off that this is an alternate universe and things are going differently, despite instead of it just being one change, it's a bunch of different changes to the universe than just one thing, like the Omnitrix being different, which is very nice. So I will give this chapter a 7 out of 10. I think it's a pretty good chapter. Going on to the last chapter for this video, well, of course this starts off with her, mutating both the parrot and the hamster, though before this, Gwen and Max are just kind of minding their own business and just didn't hear her bust in, which is weird. They're not that far away, since, the hamster and, parrot that mutated, or the ones that they were looking at, but I digress. Gray matter helps Ben take care of the giant mutated hamster, of course, and Anima's daughter just flies away with the frog and the parrot. But unlike the original, where they're like, "Oh, you saved this place," and Ben's got to learn humility of like, "Hey, I gotta save people," instead of focusing on rewards and stuff after saving people. This guy just goes, "Nah, you wrecked my place." Like, what? Even though technically he's not the reason for that. He would be. I would have been more mad at the woman who mutated the animals and stuff and actually caused all the damage. Like, he helped out and caused less damage, but I digress. Well, Gray Matter then tells Ben to like steal an electronic shredder for whatever reason, which we will know later in a different video. She didn't get the card, and it just basically goes, "Hey, yo, would you do it for a Scooby snack?" And he grabs it and runs away. Of course, the group continues on and follows after, well, the Animo's daughter, and she mutates the mammoth just like the original. And of course, Ben's reaction to this is bringing out forearms, and she looking great, by the way. Yeah, and the chapter just ends there. I really liked this chapter. The added extra, like, kind of, stuff with, like, Ben and the changes here of going, like, "Oh, I'm so grateful," to, "Oh, you wrecked my stuff," is a nice interest, contrast between the original and this comic. And also sowing some seeds for apparently Gray Matter doing something with that shredder or whatever. Which I think it was a blender, actually, but they said electronic shredder. Whatever. Anyway, not wrong. And Forearms' transformation sequence is very nice in this form of, in this comic as well, and she is looking great. Overall, I think this is also a 7 chapter, like 7 out of 10. It's just a Ben 10 AU chapter. Yeah, it's good. That is all of the chapters I will be talking about, at least in this video. I'll be talking about more in the next video, obviously, of, me talking about the Chaquetrix chapters, but for right now, we're ending here. I know ending off at like a weird cliffhanger, but like if you want to actually read the the comic itself, you can go onto Webtoon, and I'll have it in the description. Just go down and actually like read the thing. If you want to read it early, as I said before, go on to Trix's Patreon and you'll be able to see them. I think they're like stopping and having a little break for a little bit, as of this video. Maybe later they'll continue on, but they're having a break at the moment. So you have a lot of time to catch up with a lot of the chapters. But anyway, do go on to my social medias or whatever. I do have technically a Twitter, but I don't really use it that much. So yeah, I post more on like Blue Sky, YouTube, aka here, and of course I post on TikTok as well, so go check that stuff out. I will be posting the videos of shorts on a bunch of those platforms as well. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video, and that is all.